Welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thanks so much for joining us for season 1, episode 4, Phantom Traveler. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are over 21, no one is pregnant, and no one will be driving, handling weapons, or operating heavy machinery. If you're playing along at home and you decide to do something stupid by not following the rules, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
I decided to go for some cranberry vodka, and I actually have it in a shot glass, thanks to
You
my wonderful sister.
well, so you've been saying since we started recording that you do not own any shot glasses, and so I gave you that one, and your husband totally outed you. He's like,
Well, they're
"What do you
all
mean? We own a ton of shot glasses.
they're display ones, and
They're
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 like
just for pretty."
they're like in a pretty glass case. So they're like they're they're in like a really nice little pretty glass
They're
case downstairs.
they're just for admiring with your eyes, not to touch.
Exactly.
Look
So
but
no,
don't
notice
touch.
how I'm immediately using yours.
You're using. Do you want to hold that up to the camera so that people can see the design on it? It's lovely, but okay, no, your finger is not in the way. So it says "Stay in the salt ring."
Yep.
All right. Well, since this episode is about flying, I thought that a paper plane would be a good option for a cocktail this evening. It is equal parts bourbon, Aperol, which is it's an orange sort of flavor. It's a little bitter. So if you don't have that in your house, I might not even actually be pronouncing that correctly because I don't have it in the house. You can substitute something like Cointreau or triple sec even. Also, Amaro Nannino, which I also could be pronouncing incorrectly and also don't have in the house. So you can substitute Campari, which is what I've done. What you want is something herby. So honestly, if what you have in the house is Jägermeister, that'll work too. Um, and lemon juice. So equal parts of all of those. Chuck them into a cocktail shaker with some ice, shake them up, and serve that. So that brings us to our Stupornatural game cards. So Dave, can you bring up our cards for us? Let's take a look at these.
Okay.
Lynn, what do you think? I have to say, I'm feeling a little confident. I see some things I'm liking here. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I'm fairly I know I've at least got I'm gonna say at least
Go
5.
ahead. Okay.
No.
We
All of
even
a
took
sudden,
time to look at them ahead of time.
no, because all of a sudden I was like, oh wait a minute, I got another one.
Oh, you've got even more than you thought.
Yeah, exactly. So I suddenly spotted one afterwards. I was like, oh,
Okay.
good.
All right. Well, on that note, the first one is on the house. Oh, cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
All right. Oh,
Ooh.
that's pretty nice. I like that one a lot. All
Mm.
right.
Yum.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get this show on the road.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm hitting play and
Yeah.
we're starting with the previously
So
on.
the mother is run up. He gives the baby to the brother who runs out of the house, and the mother is on fire, and dad is on a hunting trip and hasn't been seen in a couple of days.
Yeah, I have that great line.
So Sam swore he was done hunting, but now he sees his girlfriend on the ceiling who has died exactly the same way his mother has.
Mhm.
And now they have spotted Dad's journal, which is everything. So now it's sort of up to the boys to pick up where Dad left off. And now we see Sam at the gravesite, and now they're just picking up where Dad left off, basically.
They are.
So now we are at what I consider the worst mystery in history.
You know, I gotta
And
say, honestly, I love this bait and switch here, where it starts out looking like you're in this tropical paradise, and then he sits up into the frame and you realize, oh no, it's a manky airport. Never mind.
now, do you know which airport that is?
I do, actually. This is,
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
No, I did research on it.
Yeah, this is Vancouver Airport, Vancouver International.
Yep.
And
Yep.
a decent,
Where all these scenes are being shot. So
and a lot of them are. And the amusing part is that that's the airport that the boys flew in and out of, because
okay, that I did not know.
yeah, they lived in LA at the time. So on the
Now, as we
weekends,
see this black flutter that we see
you
as
know what?
she
I'm
is one.
gonna I'm gonna pause this quickly because I just want to finish my thought real quickly before you
Okay.
dive in with what we're seeing. Is so the boys lived in LA at the time. And so they pretty much every single weekend they would get on a plane. And this episode comes with episode commentary if you watch this on the discs. And they were laughing about how they were literally filming in the exact same terminal that they were going to be flying out of a couple of hours later.
That's cool.
Oh, all right.
All right.
Hit
So
and play.
now we see this gentleman who is clearly a very nervous traveler, and you see this what looks like a swarm of bugs that has flown into his eyes that he does not seem particularly fazed by.
Well,
And now we get to they are
I'm
all
hitting pause
boarding.
again.
Yep.
I'm hitting pause. Go ahead, Lynn.
So yeah, so now we are on to the airplane. And we see I don't know if you recognize this wonderful woman.
I was going to ask you if you knew who this was.
Yes, this is Jamie Ray Newman.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in Catch Me If You Can. And
She was.
she is also known for because I kept wondering why does she look so familiar to me? And I was hunting through everything. And everything I was coming across was not what I thought it was. Turns out she looks like someone and it's actually documented.
Who is her doppelganger?
I was saying, can you guess who her doppelganger is? Because as soon as you hear it, you go, you're right.
I
And
can't.
she looks exactly like Kelly Preston, John Travolta's.
I have no idea who Kelly Preston is.
The first wife of John Travolta.
Okay.
So
he has more than one wife?
Yeah. Well, his first wife passed away.
Oh, that's sad.
So he has. I'm 99% certain has since remarried.
Okay.
But yes, his first wife looks exactly
like this woman.
her.
Okay.
Like the two could be twins because I was
interesting.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's who I'm thinking of. I thought that she looks exactly like Kelly Preston.
Oh, that's wild. I recognized her from The Punisher with John Bernthal.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, and now she's on The Magicians. Or well, I don't think The Magicians is still on, but yeah, she went on to The Magicians. So
yes.
So yeah, that's where I recognized her from.
Okay.
All right, play.
Hitting play. So they are all getting onto the airplane. And you notice how now I'm pausing this. Actually, I should have paused it about 10 seconds earlier.
That's okay.
one very noticeable thing with this episode that we have to keep an eye on is, did you notice the color of his eye?
Oh yeah.
His eyes were black, and that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a very important element in this episode, are those black eyes. You've really got to
Mm-hmm.
watch for that, because that tells that's quite a bit of foreshadowing, I believe is the correct term,
Mm-hmm.
in this episode. So just really keep there's a couple of things in this episode and that I'm going to bring up that really kind of keep on playing throughout this episode, and those black eyes are definitely one of them.
All right, we'll keep our eyes open for that. Ha.
Yeah. All right, I'm hitting play.
Okay.
So he is finding his seed, and she knows something's off.
She
But
did,
that's
which honestly, and this is something I'm going to bring up later in the episode. I like that she clocks it, but then just kind of goes about her business because I mean, that that's what any of us would do. Like, I think that's a
yeah.
really normal reaction to, like, oh no, I couldn't
Now,
possibly.
hold on one second here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's another thing. Hold on, just going to pause it for a second here. That's another element that's going to keep coming up in this episode, is that 40-minute time frame. That's
Right.
that's another very important element that just when you hear that 40 minutes, just keep that in the back of your
That's a
head.
thing. And he
Yeah.
does say here, you can go ahead and hit play, but he does say here, like, wow, time really does fly, huh?
And that's a line that's going to keep
We're going to hear that
not.
again.
Yeah, that is definitely a line that's just going to keep being a thing. And now, if you watch, he also notices that something is up.
Yeah, one of the passengers notices something's weird. So we're not going to hit pause here, but there's something that okay, not in any way to minimize what happened on Alaska Flight 1282 just a couple of weeks ago. But we've got this shot here where this person with the black eyes pops open the door, and we're gonna find out a little later in the episode that that's an indication of demon possession. And so when that tragedy happened, fortunately nobody was hurt. But on that Alaska flight back in January, the Supernatural family was like, "Oh, we know what happened to that plane." Like, they were convinced that what had gone wrong with the plane was that there had been demons on board.
Yes. So we know that the plane has clearly
Plane
gone
has
down.
crashed.
And now we have Dean laying in his underwear, which I cannot complain about.
I'm not complaining. I'm actually going to pause this really briefly. Go ahead, and then I'm going to make a comment.
Okay, well, I can't make the comment quite yet because he hasn't done what he hasn't done what I was going to say yet.
Okay, well, I'll make my comment then. So, I mean, clearly this is gratuitous. Like, there's no good reason for us to get this like full body pan of Dean's butt lying in bed. You can Google this. A mathematician has calculated the formula to arrive at this line of Dean's back and waist and ass. And I've seen photos of Supernatural fans with that line and the mathematical formula tattooed onto their bodies. So
hilarious.
So
that's freaking funny.
So apparently there's a scientific formula to Jensen's ass, and it has been calculated. All right, I'm hitting play.
Okay, now watch his hand. It does something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you see the shadow come in, and watch his eyes. His eyes see the shadow, which of course, and now watch his hand. His hand dives under his pillow.
Yep. So there's something on there. I'm actually going to pause this because this is a motel room.
Yes.
Which is on our bingo cards.
Yes, and I believe Did he just say dude, or is that my imagination?
Oh,
Because I thought
I'm
he
gonna
just said something.
I'm gonna back it up 10 seconds. I did not see a dude, but maybe let's check. I backed it up. Door slams, morning sunshine,
Oh, so morning.
groans. What time is it? Mm, no, I'm
Okay.
not seeing a dude. I'm gonna pause it again.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motel room. Let's see if either one of us have a motel room on our bingo cards. I do not.
I do not
All
either.
right. So hopefully if you're playing along at home, you have better luck than we do. Well, that's a disappointment. So, okay. Hitting
What
play again.
disappointment can it be? We got to see
We
that.
we got a consolation prize. We got a Dean's ass. So I know you're going to talk about this. I do just want to point out here that like they're talking about how Sam is not sleeping, and Dean is being a concerned big brother here. Which no spoilers, but if you've seen the whole show, you know that this is kind of an ironic conversation they're having here, where Dean is worried about Sam not getting a lot of sleep. And now my question is, uh, how if Dean isn't bothered by anything and he's sleeping just fine, how come he
Yeah.
was up at 3 a.m.?
And how come he has a knife under his pillow?
Right. And that's not fear.
As a precaution.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to pause this for a second. Wizard Dave is telling me that I am blind and I have a quirky motel room. There it is. Look at that. Thank goodness somebody can see. So in that case, I am on the board. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Thank goodness somebody's paying attention. All right. So so Sam has this. He pulls this. That's not a knife. That's a knife from under Dean's pillow. I'm hitting play.
Okay.
So they've gotten a phone call, and this is an old friend, Jerry.
Now, do we recognize where now hold on, we'll pause over here. Do you
Okay.
recognize that face?
You know what? I do recognize him. I mean, he's um what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's worked steadily. Um I was not familiar with it. Like he's been in a lot of stuff and he's been in a lot of stuff I've seen. He hasn't been on any like long running shows that where like
Actually,
he's the
he
lead or
has
something.
been.
Okay, well not one I've seen. Where did you recognize him from?
Well, just in trying to make sure I do my due diligence. So, his name is Brian Markinson. Hopefully, I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing that right.
You are?
So, he was in Charlie Wilson's War. And
Okay.
and to my surprise, this is where I'm surprised that neither one of us recognize him. He was not only in Star Trek Next Generation,
Mhm.
he was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, all three of
Right.
which I watched in
Indeed.
its entirety.
Yeah, I've watched it, and that's what I mean is like like I definitely recognize his face. He's worked steadily as a character actor. But it's not like it's not like Jamie Ray Newman was like she was in something like 13 episodes of The Punisher. It was not like he's sort of done onesie twosies here and there. Like he's a character actor.
Yeah,
Oh.
so, but yeah, so I felt just because there was so much Star Trek, I was like,
Yeah, we've seen all those.
I was like, I need to figure this out. So
So the
anyway,
other thing I'm going to say real quickly before you hit play, because we're about to see that Robert Singer is the director of this episode. Robert Singer was brought in. So Eric Kripke obviously is the creator, but he was relatively young when he pitched the show to the studio, and they were a little concerned about him maybe not being quite as experienced at being a showrunner. So they paired him with Robert Singer, and then sometimes those arranged marriages can go kind of badly. Um, and fortunately, that partnership worked really well, and the two of them worked well together. So Robert Singer is one of the directors that you're going to see the most. There's a couple of other folks. So he's co-executive producer. So he's co-showrunner along with Eric Kripke, and really excellent director, like really gifted. We're going to see some really great stuff from him. The reason I bring it up now is because he was not originally on the slate to direct this one. They were going to have a different director who bailed on them last minute, and so Robert Singer was like, okay, well, I guess I'm directing now. So he had not anticipated he was going to be directing this, and they called him in. So, all right, carrying
oh,
on,
okay.
hit and play.
So so he calls the guys because he has gotten a hold of Dean's number, which we will find out later how,
Mhm.
and says, I need your help. So, and he explains here that he thinks that the reason the plane went down might be right up the guy's alley.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to interrupt you really briefly. As they're walking, somebody walks by, and we hear this line, "Poltergeist." Man, I love that movie. That was
Yes.
not that was not originally there. They added that in post production, so that was something that happened not on the day.
So yeah. So and then this is when Sam finds out that the father actually used to talk about Sam quite a bit, and you can
Yeah.
see that that actually has really that really meant a lot to Sam. Like, wait a minute, my father actually spoke about me. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he did. It's like, oh, okay, awesome, because he thought
Yeah.
his father was really disappointed in him.
Well, you're right. It's something like it surprises Sam, and I mean, I think you're right. It means a lot to him, but he's stunned as all shit. That
Yeah,
like this is not something that he heard from his father.
yes. So now they are listening to the voice recorder, and
Hmm.
this is when they discover that this might actually be right up their alley because they all of a sudden hear, and I'm talking about that there should not be any survivors.
Yeah, there's a voice on the voice recorder saying "no survivors," which I'm sure that doesn't mean anything. I'm sure it's all going to be just fine.
Yeah. So yeah. So, but it turns out there are actually 5 survivors.
Is it five or is it seven? There are survivors. There
Yeah.
are survivors. There's several.
So yeah. So I'll admit I was quickly trying to hear to see what the number actually was. I had it in my head it was 5, but you
It's
but
some.
it's
It's
some.
some. There's
So yeah.
some.
So they are now outside of
And
uh
Dean checks out the woman, which we're going to talk about in a second.
and
But
they have fake
and
ID.
they have fake IDs. So we're going to
So I'm
pause this. Let's
pause. Yep.
see. Let's see what's on the Stupornatural
So
card.
I have fake IDs.
I do too. And let's
And do
see.
I have
I also have Dean hits on or checks out a woman. So I have two.
Ooh, cheers.
Ooh, cheers. I think this might be, Wizard Dave has pointed this out. This might be the first time we've both gotten both. So Go
was gonna say,
us.
I was gonna say, do I have that Dean checks? Do I? Oh, you're off. Thank you. Thank
I was going to
you.
say, the wizard is always right.
Yes, yes, the wizard is always right. Yay!
And thank goodness he's the sober one paying attention.
Exactly.
Oh, I am mistaken. He's not the sober one. He's just paying more attention. Dave says he's drinking whiskey too. All right. So,
Alrighty, as I had to retop off my shot glass.
all right, hitting play. So they're saying they're Homeland Security.
So yes. So back in the Impala we go.
The one thing I will
Yeah,
say quickly, just because I think it's going to come up, but I mean, well, I'm going to talk about it later, is I think this Homeland Security is really important because, I mean, this is a post 9/11 world here. This is 2005. So, 9/11 is recent memory. And we're talking about planes and things going
yeah,
wrong on planes. So I think it's interesting that they've chosen to impersonate Homeland Security officers here or agents.
yeah.
I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
what the official term is.
I think that's pretty much close. So now they are looking to talk to the whoever they can find, the local survivors in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so now they are at the psychiatric hospital to talk to one of the survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And who the survivor is convinced he's just delusional.
Mm-hmm. And
And
so do you remember which survivor this one was?
this is the one who saw the guy open the door.
Right. This was the kid he bumped into. Like, well,
Yeah,
we can't officially call him a kid, but a young adult.
yeah, yeah. So he keeps saying, I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything. And it's like, well, clearly and it's like, well, you checked yourself in. It's like, well, I was too stressed out. I didn't actually see what I saw. And they're like, just tell me. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me what you think. And so it it takes a little bit, but they finally they finally wear him down, but it definitely takes a little bit. So they finally get it out of him that like the guy's eyes were black,
Mm-hmm.
and that somehow this man had enough strength to push open the emergency room, the emergency door on an airplane, which of
Right.
course is 40 tons per of pressure, which is unbelievably impossible even if you are jacked up on drugs.
Yeah. It should be physically impossible. Alaska flight 1247. Yeah. That
Yeah.
should not happen. Something has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. So, and this is something that we're going to see a lot throughout the show that Sam has this really kind of gentle, sweet way of talking to people that people just find him to be instantly trustworthy. And these puppy dog eyes of his open many doors, where Dean it tends to be much more direct and gets kind of frustrated with people quickly, and he'll just sort of look at Sam like, can you do this, because I'm going to start punching something soon.
Yeah. That, and on the rare occasion he has to fly solo and tries it, it never works out well.
It's interesting you bring that up because, again, no spoilers, but this is something we're going to see throughout the series, that
Yeah.
Dean really does not do well alone, and he knows he
No.
doesn't do well alone. That's why he went to get his brother in the pilot, when he
Yeah.
couldn't find John.
Yeah. Now I love this one line just because it's comical. Is they ask the wife, like, did he have any like, were there any unusual behaviors
Hmm.
about him, like, whatsoever? And she goes, you mean um his reflux? It's
His
like,
acid
well,
reflux.
no, that's not quite what we're getting at.
Maybe not quite. Well, yeah, and because they're still trying to figure out what this is.
I love that
Um,
look on Dean's face.
yeah,
That look on
like,
his face, like, oh dear Lord, that
oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
no.
Jesus Christ. I do love this line from Dean where he says, yeah, a middle aged dentist with an ulcer is not exactly evil personified. so, so, yeah, they're
Oh, and
trying to
then
figure
they
out what this
come out
is.
in the suit. So
Yeah, so they make the
yeah,
Blues Brothers
yeah.
comment. I'm gonna pause this really quickly because there's I just want to talk really briefly about the suits. So this is the first time we see the boys in their pretext suits, which for me, I'm like, thank God, because they've been walking around claiming to be federal agents for 4 episodes now. And like, okay, first of all, Sam's floppy hair is a dead giveaway right from the beginning, but beyond that, like they're walking around looking like they just walked out of an Army Navy surplus store saying they're federal agents. Like they
Yeah.
really do need to have suits. The other thing that I want to mention about the suits is I think personally that the costuming department it really did an incredible job with their suits because okay, when you have two leading men who look like Jared and Jensen, it's really hard to make them look bad, and so they tread this line really carefully where, okay, they're in suits, but if you look closely, they're the
What?
fabric is a little bear with me 1 second. The fabric's a little inexpensive. The pattern on the ties is not super stylish. The sleeves are a little too short, and so they tread this line where they're like, okay, they're in suits, but these are not wealthy men going to Armani. That they're getting their suits from thrift stores and discount outlets, and so they tread this really kind of great line. I think that the costuming department does an amazing job with showing that okay, yes, they're in suits and it's Jared and Jensen, so they look good no matter what you put them in. But if you look closely, there are little things that tip off that these are not these are not fancy suits. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then the other thing I love, and it's a combination of a lot of things, is just even just the way Dean has tied that tie
No.
proves how like they make it even with that little detail,
Yeah.
that that man does that character
Hmm.
does not tie a tie on a regular basis by any stretch of the imagination, and
No.
how uncomfortable he is in that, as I believe he calls it, a monkey suit.
Yeah, they're not comfortable. I mean, we saw you had pointed it out in the second episode that we do see Sam in a suit, although he's dreaming at that point when he goes to visit Jesse's grave. So we do get the impression that Sam has worn a suit on an occasion, but yeah, these are blue collar guys that and so they're yeah and Dean especially is like I feel like I'm a kid at his first dance like they're really just not comfortable.
No, no,
All
they
right,
are not.
and before I hit play, this and again on Netflix this first season, you don't hear the same music that you do when it originally aired or on the discs. So what's playing here is Black Sabbath Paranoid that you're not going to hear if you're listening or watching this on Netflix. Okay, I'm hitting play. Oh, poor Dean. He's so miserable. This sucks. Like he's so miserable in his
Like
suit.
even just like the shoulder roll, like
Yep.
there's just even the body language, facial expression, nothing about
Mm-hmm.
that. And then you see the two IDs, and we get to our next really cute point here in a
Mm.
little bit. I think actually at first, so now they're looking at the wreckage of the plane.
Check out this set. Seriously. Like, this
Yes.
is Jerry Wanick, the set designer. The guy is a fucking genius. Like, this is an amazing set.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So so this is the first time we see this tool that he uses.
I'm hitting play. What tool, or hitting pause, excuse me. What tool do they have, Lynn?
It's like an I know it starts with an E.
It does?
Um, it it's a device that sort of
Mhm.
it detects the evil, like the evil spirit, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. I know
Does.
there is a technical term, and
There
I should have
is.
written it down,
I'm
but
going to help
yeah.
you out here. It's an EMF detector. It's an electromagnetic frequency detector. And it does exactly what it sounds. It detects electromagnetic frequencies. And so the theory, there's not a lot of science to back it up, but the theory is that supernatural phenomenon like ghosts will cause fluctuations in the electromagnetic field. It is also something on our bingo cards. So let's take a look at our cards here and we'll see if we can do a little better looking at the cards that we did last time. I have EMF detector, which means right now I have 3 in a row. Um,
I definitely do not.
well, and I'm looking at this and I know I'm going to get 4. I am not going to get 5 in a row. I think I'm going to get 4, but I will not get 5. So, all right. Well, since this is shaping up a little better than I thought it was going to, I'm just going to do a half of one. Cheers. Mm, that is really tasty. I'm not going to lie.
That's
All right.
good.
Okay. Hitting play. So, and I do like too that, so Dean has built this himself out of an old Walkman, and he's so proud. And
I
go ahead.
I love that smile. I
He's got an adorable little smile. I managed to bump my note on my, I bumped the button on my tablet with my boobs by accident. And so I got to get my notes back. Um, Here we go. Oops.
and this is gonna start being very important. Excuse me.
It is.
So
It's going to
that
be
that
important. Go ahead.
yeah, that residue that
Yes. So,
ye yes, they are going to scrape that, and that is something we're going to see multiple times in this episode,
all right.
is
Check
this
this out.
residue.
Dean wipes his hand on Sam's jacket. Like he can't get it off of his finger. And he like wipes it on too.
Oh, and
I'm
now
gonna I'm gonna wait. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause this really quickly. I'm actually gonna back it up 10 seconds here. So not only does Dean wipe his wipe his schmutzy hands off on Sam's jacket, but this scene here, there was some kind of a mishap where mishap is probably the wrong word, but because he needed to scrape that residue off of the emergency handle, they had
yep.
given Jared a sharp knife instead of the like a dull one.
Oh,
um
no.
and so so he scrapes this off, and then we can actually, you can't see him cut himself, but he cuts himself here, where so he scrapes it off and then he wipes the blade on this bag to try to get the residue off the blade, and he actually, like, Jared literally cut his thumb open on a sharp knife, so he had to try to film with his thumb bleeding. I'm sorry, I've hit play. Carry on.
So yeah, so they now realize that they are not true officers, and now thank God they got out beforehand. But yes, this is now the true Homeland
Yeah.
Security.
Yeah. Homeland Security actually showed up.
Yes, so they have managed to escape beforehand, and they are very quickly now sleepwalking. And
I
now we
love
see
this
the
cute little run, like when the alarm goes off and they're like, "Woo!" and they do this cute little run. We see the
I
boys
love how though
hump over, oops,
Sam
hop
just
over the
jumps
fence.
over, and Dean actually uses the jacket to
Yep.
like as a catapult. So now to the next guy, who now I'm going to pause it here for a second
Okay.
because do we recognize Chuck?
I don't recognize either of these actors.
Okay, so this is Daryl, and I'm going to see if I pronounce this right. Shuttleworth.
I won't know if you say it wrong.
Well, our viewers at home might. So where I recognize what show he has been in that I watch regularly
Mm-hmm.
is One Calls the Heart, which
Yeah, I have
is
not. I definitely have not seen that.
I know you have not.
That sounds like one of those, like, oh, I sobbed through the whole thing show.
Yeah, no, it's more
Are
it's a
there car
period.
chases?
No, because there would have to be horse and
Explosions?
buggy. It would have to be a horse and buggy chase.
Explosions? Gunfights?
Uh,
Gratuitous sex and violence?
no.
Then I have not seen it.
Yeah, no. He was also in The L Word and Flight 93. But what I've seen him
Okay.
in is One Calls the Heart.
Weeps my broken heart.
Hey, it's actually quite a good show. I love that
I'm
show.
sure. I'm sure. It's more for you. More for
Yes,
you,
I
love.
know it is. All right, hitting play. So he's now trying to get himself to get motivated to get back into just a small twin engine plane. And
Mhm.
you see the swarm again. So now we know that we're going to have more issues because, as I like to call them, the bugs are back, even though they're not bugs.
But no,
They
it
don't look
is.
like a swarm of bugs. And again, they just kind of go in and no one seems to fight it much. So now we see the guys are back in a lab, and we're back with Jerry.
Mhm.
And we realize that I love that. Now I have an idiot to fire.
Yeah.
And we realize it's sulfur.
Right.
So
And
now we realize that it's most likely someone who has been that it's a that it's a demon.
it's a demon.
That
Somebody's been possessed by a demon.
yes. So now it's just so and now there is
All right, so
there
you've
were two
paused it. What do you want to point out here?
okay, so there were two errors made in this episode and well three technically. Two of them are in this scene.
Two of them are here.
So yes. So apparently, and you'd have to be really observant to notice this because Lord knows I didn't. The numbers on the tail that on the plane on the ground and when it's in the air are two different sets.
Yeah, it's not the same plane. It's just
Yeah,
not.
it's not at all the same plane, but it's supposed to be. So that was one of the things they said because it's supposed to be the same plane that's up in the air and down on the ground, and it's not.
Yeah,
So,
unless they're standing in front of a different plane that they get into. Well, I mean, clearly they're sitting in front of a different plane they get into. But like, yeah, this is not the plane that we see in a minute when they're up in the air.
yeah, so
Yeah, the
so yeah,
windows are a
so
different shape. Like it's just not the same plane.
right, right.
Um,
So they were
yeah,
caught.
no, we see him get onto it. Nope, no excuse.
Yep, and so the tail also has different. Now we're about to see, and the windows are completely different and all of that.
Yep, windows are round. It's a different plane. It's just different.
Now,
Um,
as you just heard, we'll pause this. So you just heard that he said it's been 40 minutes that the plane
mhm.
has been in the air, and that time really does fly. So
Fly.
again, we're seeing that theme carry through.
Right. So we know it's demon possession,
Yep.
and it's the same demon
Yeah,
as before. Right.
absolutely. We got the
Because we have
black
a pattern.
eyes, the same expressions,
Mhm.
everything. So it's 100% the exact
It's
same demon.
the same demon. All
So,
right.
and
Hitting
he
play.
knocks out the co-pilot, and down goes the plane with those jet black eyes. And here we go. And
And
boom.
he's
Nice big crash.
crashing. We've got the best special effects that 2005 could offer.
So,
Um,
so yeah, so now we see all the different pictures, and obviously they're trying to put all the pieces together.
mhm. I do
So,
love, so they're talking about the possibility of this being demon possession here. And again, no spoilers, but if you've seen the whole series, Dean has this line here about like, I don't know, man, demons? That's not our usual gig. Like this is big. Like this is too big for us. And if you've seen the whole series, you know that that's like watching it over again from the beginning, you hear that line and it just makes you giggle a little bit.
so they're now just as a, he just says,
Yep, it's not our usual gig. I don't know about this. Um, he says, "Oh, I wish
and
Dad was
Dad was
here.
here.
I wish
Oh,
Dad was here."
and then the phone rings, and we find out that Chuck has passed away in a crash. So,
And
so
so I'm not going to pause this. I'm just going to keep talking. But Dean asks, "Where did it happen?" And Jerry
oh,
says, "Nazareth." And Dean says, "Oh, I'll try to ignore the irony of that." So Lynn, did before I say, did you come up with why it's ironic? Did you come across that?
well,
I'm
it's
looking at
like,
your face. I'm assuming no.
well, well, I mean, obviously, I just struggle with Nazareth just because I think of the faith based.
Right,
So
right. So Jesus was born in Nazareth, and
Nazareth.
the reason why a plane crash is ironic coming in Nazareth is there's a band called Nazareth, and several members of the band were supposed to be on a plane that crashed in 1977, killing several members of the band Leonard Skinner. So it was one of those sort of like near misses where, okay, so now a plane has crashed in Nazareth, but the band Nazareth narrowly missed crashing. Um, and then
Okay.
and then the year before, in 1976, the manager of the band Nazareth had been killed in a plane crash. So that's I will admit I had to look that one up because I'm like I don't know that much about Leonard Skinner or Nazareth that I need it, but I had to look that one up. So we've got Rush, the band Rush, and the song "Working Man" here, which again, if you're on Netflix, you will not have heard. And Dave says it's still the greatest rock band ever.
So they've talked to three people. So yes, so so they've talked to three people, and they are saying that the wild card is Amanda, the flight attendant.
Yeah, she's the only
So
one.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So they're desperately trying to, and of course now it's all right. How fast can Apollo go? and they are
Oh,
back in the airport.
with Dean behind the wheel, she can go pretty fast. So,
Yeah,
and
so they
Sam even makes the
find
comment.
out it's 30 minutes until this flight takes off.
And
So
okay,
they
go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll say it when you're done.
so they are now they're trying to get Amanda on the phone to try and talk her out of getting onto this plane. So we see her getting paged and going and grabbing the phone, and we see him creating a story about we have that it's her, I believe it's her mother in
Sister,
a
I
car
think.
accident. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a sister who's supposedly been in a car accident, but of course she realizes really quickly that I just got off the phone with her
Yeah.
and this is physically impossible, and she realizes real quickly it's a hoax.
Hmm.
So she very quickly goes with the okay, is this the ex-boyfriend's friend? And Dean kind of runs with that and is really kind of hoping that she will come and see the ex-boyfriend because of course he's so sorry that he broke her heart. And he's like, and she's like, nope, gonna miss my flight, gotta
Hmm.
go. And and for a second there you actually think she's considering it, but unfortunately nope, it doesn't work. Now is
Right.
it just me or do we think that Sam should have been the one on that phone call?
All right. I'm gonna pause this just a second. Um, that's an interesting question that because so I mean I think the short answer to your question is it was in the script that they had to get
Yeah.
on the plane. So
Oh yeah, of
but
course.
you bring up an interesting point that like okay, if you're going to try to convince somebody of something, um so here's the one thing that makes me think that Dean potentially did have a better chance than Sam is I mean we've seen it. Dean is a ladies man.
Yes.
So and again, I keep saying this time around, but I don't want to give too much away for things that we're going to see later. But um, Dean's not always 100% honest with the ladies.
Oh, I
So
can't
I
imagine.
know it's a huge spoiler. I'm terribly sorry if I've ruined this show for anyone, but um, I mea culpa, but so I don't know. I think I probably would have stuck with Dean to try to convince her not to get on the plane. That Sam might be a little too honest to have been successful, but I see why you would think that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, as
so
you said, it's in the script for it to
It's
be
in the
the
script.
end.
It's in the script. They're getting on the plane. So real quickly here, I want to point out, so they're boarding on gate 13. So unlucky number 13
Mm,
um, that is the gate number they're flying out of. The other thing, and this is going to come up in a minute. So when they get to the airport, they find out it's 30 minutes before the flight. And this is why I brought up earlier that I think it's interesting that they're posing as Homeland Security agents and they're saying it's something new. People won't have seen it before. So they're acknowledging that this is a post 9/11 world. And yet, two military aged men are about to board a plane with no luggage 30 minutes before the plane takes off.
yeah, that's
Like,
not gonna happen.
it's like, okay, I understand that we have to suspend disbelief that there's, demons and monster hunters and no, but what I don't buy is that these two guys are able to get on this plane. Okay, so go ahead.
Especially since they still have to buy the tickets.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's less than 30 minutes before, and you figure they've lost a couple of minutes talking to
Home.
her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit play here. And because Sam is even about to say to Dean, like, go to the trunk of the
Oh, and now you
Impala.
see, like the demon comes out and it goes back in. So
And
he's like, okay, nope. she can't get anywhere with
Can't get to her
her.
here, right? Um, but again, we excuse me, we get this situation where Sam is saying to Dean, go to the Impala. We need to get on this flight. We don't have any other way of stopping this. Go to the trunk, get whatever weapons you can out of the trunk that we can get through security. Like, dude, it's 15 minutes before this plane takes off. You're not getting anything through security, let alone anything that looks like a weapon. Um,
And this is when we find out that Dean has a major problem with flying. And look at him. He kind of looks like a lost puppy. He looks
it
like
does.
he lost his puppy.
Do I look like I'm joking? So, go
I would
ahead.
say and Sam's like, there's plan A and there's plan B. I don't see a C. I can get on, we can get on. There is no third idea here.
And poor
So
Dean is like, man.
so we see very quickly here that they have gotten onto this flight somehow with 15 minutes to spare. We're going to
Somehow.
suspend disbelief. And poor Dean is a nervous wreck and is like trying not to have a panic attack here. So flight takes off with them on it, and very quickly he starts humming.
And Sam is just loving, absolutely loving that
Yeah.
he's that Dean is having a hard time here. So what he's humming here is some kind of Monster by Metallica. So which I think is an excellent choice for him to
Yes.
be humming on a plane that's got a half an hour before it crashes.
I love what he says in a second here. In a second here, when he, when he's humming, and he's like, "Will you calm down, or the demon's going to pick you if you do not chill out?"
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're trying to figure out like, okay, how do we figure this out? How do we figure out which one's Amanda? Like how do we figure all of this out? And so they figured out that that one's not Amanda. So okay, there's only two process of elimination. They've now figured out which one she is. So then so now how they got holy so now of course
Yeah, that's a big container of holy water.
yeah.
So let's just assume that they converted it to holy water after they got through security. But
Now,
yeah,
also,
mhm,
I don't know if they actually make the point here, but they're supposed to be saying God
right,
in Latin, not Christ.
correct.
So one of the other issues that they had in that scene is that Christo is theoretically the wrong word if they are trying to say God.
Right. It's the wrong thing.
Yes, because the Latin word for God is, now I may be pronouncing this
Mhm.
incorrectly, but is Deus?
Deus.
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 So yeah, so if you're trying to say God in Latin, it's Deus.
That
So yeah,
every
so
once in a
that was
while my seminary degree comes in handy.
so yeah, so that was the other
Right.
error that they made in this
Hmm.
episode, is that they used the wrong word.
Which now conceptually it it probably should still work. I mean, if you think about every horror film, well, let's be honest, I've ever seen, because I know you haven't seen any, but every horror film I've ever seen about exorcisms,
I
they're
say,
they're
let's
talking.
put on Hitchcock. I've seen Hitchcock.
I don't know that Alfred Hitchcock made any exorcism movies, but yeah. So they talk about. I mean, it's a Roman Catholic rite of exorcism, and so they perform it in Latin, and they invoke the power of Christ. So you're absolutely correct, and I agree with you. They're saying the wrong thing. Conceptually, it should still work, however.
So, all right, hitting play.
Hitting play. All right.
Okay.
Wizard Dave is warning us that we're talking too much.
All right. So he is now talking to the stewardess and trying to figure out if she actually is possessed or not by just a little bit of small talk
Mhm.
and seeing how natural she actually feels and all of this, and trying to get her to talk about the last flight, which he discovers very quickly is not the easiest thing to do. But but what he acknowledges is that you can't let fear stop you. You just
Mhm.
kind of have to get past it.
Right.
So so then and
And
then
you can see him. He's like, "Damn it, I don't want to say this."
and he did say it there. He goes, Christos, and she had no impact on it
Right.
whatsoever. So he knows real quick that it's not her. You know, so it's like, okay, never mind. I'll stop looking like an idiot and go back to my seat.
Yeah, so poor Dean just had to look like an idiot in front of the pretty flight attendant, which he's not loving. And he's freaking out over the turbulence. He's not happy they're on a plane that they know is going to crash.
Oh, you're, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I'm positive because I know I heard a dude.
You did. You heard a dude.
And of
Let's see
course,
what we've
the
got.
reason why I'm doing that is because
What's going on? The dudes are
We
emerging.
we have dude in the same square.
I'm like, I know I have a dude. And every time I have one, he
Cheers.
never says it. So I'm like, I'm
Mm,
getting my dude.
mm. All
So,
right, we have a dude.
cheers.
Cheers. All right, hitting play.
Hitting play.
I love Dean trying to take deep breaths here. He's making this weird like face. Like eh, I'm going to talk about this later, but Jensen has such a really well developed sense of comedic timing. He is absolutely hilarious in this episode. And Sam's telling him, like, oh, the exorcism makes the demon more powerful. He's like, say what now? Like, how is that a good plan?
I love his eyes. Like, what? His eyes said more than anything.
Like, no, no,
No, bring
not
out the
loving this.
walkie-talkie. Bring out the walkie.
Yeah, the Walkman. He's got his, which
There,
you
got
you
it.
and I you and I remember Walkmans.
Yes, yes, we do.
Actually owned a Walkman at one point in my
Oh, I
life.
definitely owned it more than one
Yeah,
because as they
with
got
the
more
or
fans.
with the orange headphones.
Yep. Oh, hell yeah.
We were
And these
so
people are
cool.
looking at him like, what the hell are you doing? So,
I do. There's a
yeah.
great.
I jumped then and I knew it was coming.
We do. We have a jump scare, and there's this little moment here that I love while Dean is walking around the plane with his homemade EMF detector, where they they hit some turbulence as he's walking around in the plane, and he's like,
Yeah. Oh,
"Gah!" and
and,
he like hits the back of the chair. Like,
yep.
no, I don't
Fine.
like it. I don't like it at
Oh,
all.
oh, and we got a Cristo and with the black eyes. So they know that it is the co-pilot.
Co-pilot, which again, post 9/11 world, there's no way they get through that door to that co-pilot. Like that was all retrofitted after 9/11. That the pilot compartment was not accessible.
All right, so now they have to convince the flight
Mhm.
attendant that of what is going on. Now I love how Sam takes over. He's like, okay, enough of you talking, my turn.
You had your chance.
Yeah,
I will say what I do like about this though is again going back to the beginning. You pointed it out that she saw this guy with black eyes, and because I mean honestly, they've got the clock is ticking. They have a very limited amount of
oh,
time
and
to
they just told her that Chuck Lambert's dead.
right. So it's a I wish you wouldn't do that. Now I have to start over.
Sorry.
So it's fine. It's totally fine. That I'll get my train of thought back one of these years. So what I was saying is that what I do really like about this is that it, you know, sh like they're on a ticking clock. So they don't have a lot of time to get her on board with this. And what they're talking about is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a demon on the plane. Are you kidding me? But because the only thing that makes it even the tiniest bit plausible is she did see it before. That she kind of talked herself out of it because of course you do. So I do think this happens a little quickly. Understanding, it's a 42-minute show and they have to get to the punchline. Okay, so to your point, now she knows that the other guy's dead. They have convinced her to get the co-pilot out of the
Yeah,
cockpit.
and here they come. So now they have to work and work quickly because yeah, this is they are not going to have much time to focus on. Okay, so they smash and start the water, and they are and she is going to very quickly discover this that he is not human.
This
And
is yeah. Go ahead.
so yeah, so basically he's telling her, get out of here and don't let anyone back here at all. So she gets out, and now they have to go to work on doing an exorcism.
An
Very, very.
exorcism. I'm going to pause this because an exorcism is on our bingo cards.
Uh-huh, and I have one.
You have one. Someone
I
performs an exorcism. I have one as well. And I think that this is probably going to be my last chance to get one in a row. So I have a total of 4 in a row, and I am not going to get kick it in the ass. Mm.
uh,
Cheers.
cheers.
All right. Oops.
All right.
There we go. Hitting play on our exorcism here.
So up, and he has hit the water out, and all of that. So now they're back at it again, trying to hold him, and he, of course, is not taking it easy. Oh, and the demon has just informed him that he knows what happened to his girlfriend, and that she screamed bloody, that she screamed for help, and all, like that she screamed through the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
which of course royally phases Sammy. And now the exorcism is happening, and he has kicked the book away as and there goes the demon. The demon is now out of the co-pilot's body.
Mm-hmm.
So now they need to perform the second half of the exorcism before the demon takes down the plane, which she is very quickly starting to do as the demon has now gotten significantly more powerful. So now you see all hell breaking loose on the plane and Sam aggressively going after the journal, how which is how he is able to perform the remaining part of the exorcism. So things are flying. Dean is freaking out in the back of the plane. And now we have the journal. And he is about to perform the second half of the exorcism with the plane basically going down. And you see,
Dean is just
that's it. You see the light going through the plane and all of that.
Dean is hilarious. He's
Yeah.
like, wait, we're alive.
And then everything settles down. The demon out.
Dean is alive.
And Steve is, I, I can't even. Steve is like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
And yet it's not even less.
I don't, again, suspending disbelief because 2 seconds ago he looked less than that.
No, but no, their hair looks great. Thank you, Jeannie
Yeah.
Chow, makeup art, or
So,
sorry, hair artist, hairstylist on the show. The boys look great.
yeah. So now they are departing from the plane, and
Also,
everyone is just saying, I don't know what happened. Just everything. And of course, no one is using the expression of demon or anything like that. It's just,
no.
something went a little wonky, and these two guys saved the day, and that's it. And so Dean says, let's get out of here. And now Sam is saying that thing new about Jessica. And Dean's now got to calm him down by saying, listen, they lie all the time. You can't believe a word that they said.
Yeah, demons lie.
So it's just getting him out of that airport and saying, come on, let's just go. So now they are back with Jerry saying, listen, Dad's going to be real proud. We know what you did, and everything is great. And now they ask, how in the world did you get our number? And it turns out that on their father's voicemail is Dean's self is Dean's phone number, and the father's phone number has been disconnected for quite some time. So all of a sudden, the father's phone number is turned back on, and in the voice message, in the voicemail is Dean's number. So we're about to hear that in the message of, if you need anything, please call my son, and here is the phone number. So it's the first time that we get any indication that the father is still alive.
Right.
So that's a huge moment.
This is huge. Not only is it the first indication that the father is alive, it's the very first time in the show we hear that their last name is Winchester. That up until this point, they've never used their last names, that they've just been Sam and Dean, or they've used a rock alias, or an alias. We got the Harrison Ford and Ford and Hamill previously, but so this is the very first time we hear that their last name is Winchester in the show. Um, that is the end of the episode. I am gonna mention something really quickly here. So about that voicemail. So this is the Supernatural official companion volume for season 1, and there's kind of a fun little piece of trivia in here. So when you watch this episode on a streaming service, or you have the discs, they what you hear John Winchester say on Dean's voicemail, or on his voicemail, excuse me, as his son Dean's phone number. And what comes across the subtitles at the bottom is 785-555-0179, which obviously that 555 is a fake area code. Apparently, when it originally aired, and I've been really transparent. I didn't watch this when it first came on, and obviously, Lynn, you just started. Um, but apparently, when it first aired, a different phone number was heard and seen on the subtitles. So I'm going to read this little piece of trivia out of the companion volume in here. It says, "Did you know? For a time, if you called Dean's cell number 866-907-3235, you'd hear Jensen Ackles reading the message, quote, 'This is Dean Winchester. If this is an emergency, please leave a message. If you are calling about 11-283, page me with your coordinates.'" And obviously 11-283 is the date of Mary's death. All right. Well, that is our episode there. Lynn, what did you think? One thing you loved and one thing you hated.
Oh my God, there were so many things that I loved. It's hard to.
This is
The
a great
one
episode.
things that I guess I loved was how they got involved in it. It wasn't just like, kind of looking through the ads of like, oh, here's an interesting article, let's go chase it. It was someone calling them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was that I liked that premise of it, like of that, like, okay, so that I really like that, and obviously it gets the dad kind of involved in all of that.
No, and to your point, what it gives us is a little bit of that backstory where it's like, oh, John and Dean had helped this guy years before with a poltergeist.
Yeah.
So it's somebody that they had worked with before. It's obviously not a case that we see, on, during the run of the show, or at least up to this point. But we get that little bit of history that this is something that, Sam and Dean, we don't know about Sam, but that Dean and John had been doing, and that they had built these relationships. And
Yeah.
so this guy is like, okay, something really wacky is happening. I know. Who are you going to call? The Winchesters.
So yeah, I liked that
Mm-hmm.
part of it. That, and I mean, you just gotta love Jensen Ackles' comic
My God.
timing and those
Yeah.
facial expressions. I mean, they're just, and just the two of their timing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though we're only on episode 4, they've got the timing
Right.
so well mastered. It's, oh my God, it's hilarious. It's riotously funny, and they're not trying to be funny though, which is what makes it even better.
Mm.
Is it just happens.
Right. Yeah, that's just a gift that Jensen has. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is honestly one of the things that I love the most is, when you cast actors to do a show, you cast them for, a particular, I'm about to sound like Taken here, a particular set of skills, and then anything else that you might want them to do, you just have to let them try.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you stop writing to those things because you know that your actors can't pull it off. And if they can pull it off, you go, oh, I know that they can do this really well. And the writers keep writing towards, so you get this kind of symbiotic relationship. And which is the thing that I love the most about this episode is this is the very first one where they really experiment with humor. And once they see, to your point, that the boys have this, kind of straight man, and with Sam and Dean having the comedic timing, or Jensen having the comedic timing, they go, oh, this guy's really funny, and they start writing to that. And so this is where it starts, and from this point on, you're going to see a much more comedic Dean, and so that's the thing that I really love the most about this episode. How about something you hated?
Um, I think they have us suspend disbelief just a
It's a bit deep.
wee bit too much.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of whether it is pre, like pre 9/11 or post 9/11, the chances of like that, just that whole airport thing of, okay, I'm in an airport and the flight leaves in a half an hour. We all know, anyone who has flown knows that if it leaves in a half an hour, let's hear, they close the gates 15
Mhm.
minutes before. You haven't purchased a ticket. You haven't got, like, I mean, I guess, as I said, suspending disbelief, yes.
But
Make it, you gotta make it not realistic necessarily, but then maybe don't put such an emphasis on the time. Like, say, okay, the flight leaves soon, and kind of
right.
maybe leave that little element out so that it doesn't seem so unrealistic.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And honestly, that was my thing that I kind of disliked. I can't say that I really hate anything about the episode. I think it's really well done. But the thing that bothered me is like, okay, we just watched this demon pry open an emergency exit in flight, which you had said earlier is something like 40,000, 40 tons per square inch. Like it's inhuman, like humanly impossible. Let me try that one again. Humanly
Yeah.
impossible. And yet, two regular dudes from Kansas are able, now they're big dudes, but they're able to hold him down and are kind of holding their own in a fight against him. Like the way that they present it, again, I am prepared to suspend disbelief, and we're the your two main characters definitely have plot armor. But there are just a couple of things I agree with you that I think they asked for a little bit too much, that if they had just kind of dialed it back a smidge, it would have been a normal amount of disbelief suspension, not an impossible amount. Oh, all right. Well, any last thoughts?
No, no. I mean,
Okay,
I thought it was an excellent episode.
I agree. And I'm taking a look at the Stupornatural cards here. Again, I got four in a row. And let me
I
think, four,
definitely
five,
did not.
and a total of seven.
Yeah,
What
I
did you
got
score?
5, which is
I
well.
lost by the least. Yay.
Congratulations.
Oh, why thank you. And the crowd goes wild.
Yay!
Okay, well, that is last call. Thank you for coming along with us for the ride. We love hearing from our SPN family, so please send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com. In our next episode, we'll be watching season 1, episode 5, Bloody Mary, when Sam and Dean earn about 600 years worth of bad luck. Until then, be safe, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.